This is some old video from March the 10th. I went out on March the 10th and flew the honey badger 4 times to do some experimentation. This is recording the video from the platform to the ground station, getting ready to start trying to go through the goggles. I wanted to see if the video broke up, and as you can see right here, I got about 100 feet in the air. My video started breaking up. Now I think the wave propagation on the skew planar antennas is kind of a donut shape, and I'm only about 20 feet in front of the video receiver, although I'm 100 feet in the air, and I do believe I'm kind of in the top of the donut where it doesn't propagate well. Here at the house I can't really get moved out with the new rules. You can't go out of visual line of sight. Trees are so close, if I go very far I'll be out of visual line of sight. So this is first attempt. Now when I came back down lower, the breakup quit. And then also I'm using 2200 milliamp hour batteries on the honey badger, and I removed the failsafe, and I flew it 4 times to the point where the battery wouldn't hold the airframe in the air anymore, so I could find the max battery. This is all manual mode too. There's no altitude hold. GPS is not being used. I went over to inspect the night light. Charles is not here. It's his campsite below that trailer there, or place where he puts his camper. He's in Florida for the winter, the past 2 winters, which I might be taking my pop-up and going to Florida starting soon here. So I was trying to inspect that night light there, and being in just straight manual mode, I was all over the place, and I didn't want to bump into it, so that didn't work out too well for me. So that's what I was doing here, recording the video to the ground station through an easy capture board instead of going into video goggles, so I could see what kind of breakup I was going to get on the video. I think I accidentally plugged the ground wire into the composite cable out of the video transmitter receiver on the ground into the one for sound. So I'm not sure my ground's good, so I'm not sure I was getting great video. I'm going to have to do this all again the next warm day, try it all again, so I can start going in the goggles themselves and flying. So that's what this whole video is just flying the little honey badger around through 4 batteries to see what kind of video transmission I was going to get out of the platform. Yeah. Don't run into yourself there, son. And basically I was keeping it low and slow, so that when the batteries did get down to their 3S batteries, so they're technically not supposed to go less than 9.3 volts, 9 volts. And at about 9 volts, even at full throttle, they won't keep the platform in the air. So I was trying to find max battery time on these 4 flights, and then I can come backwards with my battery fail safe and know how many minutes I can actually fly and where to set my battery failsafe, so it'll quit doing what I'm telling it and automatically hit the failsafe and come home and land on the return to launch all automatically. And I think with this platform, these motors, this prop, really 5-minute flights are going to be pretty much the best for this platform. Although I did run some 2800 milliamp hour batteries and I got almost 10 minutes before it wouldn't fly anymore. So I might be able to run that one 7 minutes and let it fail safe. And that'd still give me about 2 minutes for it to come home. Or instead of doing return to launch, I might just have it land wherever it's at with the failsafe. You got to watch that one. You might be over a road or whatever. But basically, this is a little 720 by 480 resolution CMOS camera on the front of the Honey Badger. It's not running through the Mobius camera, which is the 1920 by 1080 high definition. It's only a $30 little camera. I'll show you a photograph of it here. You've seen my little Honey Badger. Did get me an anemometer. The wind that day was gusty. As you can see, the platform flopping around constantly. Wind gusts were just really getting it good. I got those 3 wires right there in the air to worry about, plus small area to fly in. The winds basically were 3-4 miles an hour, gusting up, and fairly constant at about 9.4 miles an hour. So it was going back and forth up to 10, down to 3, up to 10, down to 3. So there were occasions when a gust would come along, just blow the daylights out of this little bitty thing. It's very, very lightweight, very small. So we're coming up on, coming up on the end of this battery. There she starts. There we are. That's about all this battery's going to fly. Now, even though I took it down 9 volts, here's a second flight starting up. And the next 3 are purely just checking for separate batteries, 2 2200s and 1 2800 milliamp hour for max flight time. There's the antenna. Whoa! And see, the wind will get between these buildings and really blow it around too. Video's not too bad, even at the lower 720 by 480 resolution. Do have some breakup. Not sure why yet. Could have a loose wire in the camera wiring. And see, now I'm 30 feet or more away from and there I am coming to the left over the top of that antenna on the video receiver, and I get much more breakup all of a sudden. And I think that's just a propagation problem. Because as I come back down and get more on a plane with that antenna, the video stabilizes more. And I think even at altitude, if I was out 30, 40, 50, 100 yards, that I wouldn't have that breakup even at 100 feet, 200 feet, 300 feet. I'm not sure yet. But I certainly was not going to put the FPV goggles on for these first tests. Need a spotter. Fly underneath the goggles. Something happens, video quits, camera blows up, whatever. You want to pop the goggles up first of all. Now you got bright sunlight in your eyes and you can't see. Secondly, you don't know exactly in the sky where to look to find your platform, so you need a spotter. So I wasn't going to use the goggles for this. This is just being recorded straight to the notebook computer that was set next to the antenna. All this bobbing around is completely wind driven. I'll weigh the thing out with a battery on it. And, every now and then it's pretty stable with the just flying in manual mode. No autopilot helping at all here. That's not quite true. Those wires I got to stay away from. There's 3 of them. 1 down low and then 2 up above. There's basically 3 wires to the composite video, sound, and a ground. And I think I may have had my ground technically plugged into the sound, and I'm not getting good color because I got a little poor ground here, and that might be some of the other video breakup. I have to play with it on the ground too and jiggle the wires around, or it could just be too close to the darn receiver. Technically it could be stepping on the receiver. It's a 600 milliwatt transmitter. It should go quite a ways distance wise, but when you're within 10-20 feet of your receiver, all that power can actually cause problems in the receiver. It's not made to be 3 inches away. And so every now and then it's fairly still and stable. Not much jello in this anymore for this little CMOS camera. Props are well balanced. The whole platform's technically ready. I just have to make sure I'm going to have constant video, and then we'll put those glasses on and start flying true FPV. And see, at this point I'm 4 or 5 minutes into a second battery, so I'm not sure when it's going to want to fall out of the sky on me. So I don't want to get it too high. Then you get into the secondary problem, getting down near the ground. You get into your own prop wash. Pretty good little platform. Another problem with me is my working on 62 years old, my thumbs shake a little bit, diabetes, stuff like that. Tremors, little tremors. The right joystick might get a little twitching in it too and cause some of this rocking around. So that should be life. So if the video would stay like this, wasn't a bright sunny day either. That didn't help for the color. I'd be pretty much ready for true full under the goggles FPV. We're getting down near the end of second battery, and the batteries become mushy. You might see a lot of up and down there. Batteries, when they get down towards total 9 volts, they get really mushy, and there you go. That's the end of the second battery. Here's third battery. Now this is a 2800 milliamp hour battery. This one went almost 10 minutes. The other ones went about 7. 2200 milliamp battery will go about 7 minutes for me, so I'll set the timer on my RC transmitter to tell me when 5 minutes is up. And at that point I'll terminate my flying and let her come home and land. And I also have to set a voltage failsafe on the battery, because I don't want to be at 300 feet when the battery voltage goes to 9 volts and it won't hold the platform in the air anymore and let it fall from 300 feet. So that's where we set up the battery voltage failsafe. So at like 9.6, 9.8, whatever, it says battery's too low to fly anymore, and lands itself automatically or comes home and lands automatically. See, that's nice and stable. You can see that bush above the garage over there blowing a little bit in the wind. Yeah, it was kind of windy that day for such a light platform. Also going to be some delay, real-time delay in true FPV flying between the capture of the video by the camera, processing of the camera, sending that signal to the video transmitter on the platform, the receiver receiving that signal through the air, processing that signal into composite video, and then the composite video going out to the FPV goggles, and the goggles processing that signal into viewable video in the goggles. Now that delay is going to be in the milliseconds, less than a second probably, but it can change and it can be a problem. There's a flying close to that wire. The wind wasn't constant out of one direction that day either. It was changing from behind me to coming from the right, to coming from the left. I think part of it was just swirling between these buildings also. I think the lowest it was about 3.4 miles an hour, and it was up to like 9.6 on the anemometer when I checked the wind speed with it after I did these flights. Had my hands full while I was flying them. I was trying to keep the platform level at the same altitude. And most of the time I did. But there were some gusts came along and just blew me all over the place. It was bad. I know this is pretty boring, but it is the final experiments and the accumulation of over a year worth of making sure all of these things are well calibrated, tweaked. Me learning to fly the platforms. I couldn't fly this good if I'd have put this thing in the air like this in this wind a year, 2 years ago. Well, I've got video proof of a lot of the crashes. You can just go back a year or so and see. I could have never flown in stabilized mode back then for love nor money, and kept it in the air for any amount of time. You see that wire come into the view on the left there every now and then. I just don't have any place to fly at the house. So at the completion of these 4 flights, I know that 2200 milliamp hour battery gives me about 5 minutes of fun. 2800 milliamp battery will give me about 7 minutes, depending on how hard I push the platform. The 4th flight I flew it was either a 3000 or a 3200 milliamp hour battery, and it was too much weight. It didn't last long, and it actually crashed the honey badger, and I broke one of the right front arm again. I think that's one of the reasons honey badger's out of production is they just won't take a hard hit. Not at all. Where the arms connect to the top and bottom plate, just not enough material there to take any kind of bump. So after Peter quit producing them, which Peter was cutting edge when he first started making these things, there was nobody making anything near what these things were. Everything else was just as big a problem as the potential problems with these. This was new design. Everybody was just designing stuff off the top of their heads and testing it. So Peter was, when they first come out, Peter was doing great model, wonderful. I wish he was still making them. I'd buy 100 arms if I broke 100 arms. I just like them. They're nice, black, sleek, little, small, racing type platforms. See, the wind's really blowing me around there. I thought about figuring out some way of making my own replacement arms using a 3D printer. I've got access to a 3D printer, but don't have access to a replicator. I'm not quite sure how to. The top and bottom plates don't break. It's the arms that break. I might be able to switch from the Delron plastic to aluminum on these and keep the honey badger. I don't know. I still got one full one in the bag. 4 good arms on it. I still have one spare arm from before I bought that. Oops, getting mushy. Yeah, there's the end of the 2800 milliamp hour battery. Now this one's either a 3000 milliamp hour or a 3200 milliamp hour battery. I'm not sure which because the label got pulled off when some Velcro got pulled off of it at some point. So I had pretty much done what I wanted to do with the other batteries. So for this I was just going to go do a little bit of fun. I was going to go up and look at Charles's water fixture. He's put some rocks together behind where he parks his camper there during the summer and stays here during the summer. Then he goes south to Florida for the winter. He's got a little electric pump in it and sort of a little waterfall. So I decided to move up and try to video that. Not sure where in this. It'll be coming up here in a second. So the video quality is pretty good for a little cheap CMOS. You can see my shirt blowing there in the wind with that gust. Just blew the daylights out of the platform. There's the video receiver, that white thing on top of the pole. And see, I think I'm too close. Some of that breakup is because of just the transmitter power stepping on the receiver. Just inducing too much. Oops. Yep, there's that black wire there. Go back down, get under it. Crash hazard. We're about to the end of all this. Hate being so close to that wire, especially with all this wind. Wind just generally doesn't blow you up and down. Blows you right and left, forward and back. So let's go up and look at Charles's water feature. There it is back there in the side of the hill. Rather low to the ground. But I was just basically testing my skills here. How well I could target something like that for kicks and grins. Which in this wind I found out not too good. It's so low to the ground. He comes back, he'll clean it out and get his pump running again and such. Get the waterfall on it going. So then I headed back down towards the house, and basically the battery ran out and it fell out of the sky and broke an arm. I was away from the ground station, so I couldn't hear what my battery voltage was, and right there is where it turned a little flip and down it went and broke an arm. That's the end of that. So there's the little honey badger. You can see it's kind of small, about a foot by a foot. This is the CMOS board camera, CCD, little 720 by 420 resolution. They only cost $20-$30. They're for flying, not for taking high-res pictures. You can see the back of the board, all the components. Come on, focus. Thank you. You can see all the components are just mounted on the back of the board and the lens on the front of the board. That's a immersion RC 600 milliwatt video transmitter sitting on top right there. And that's the whole little honey badger, including the broken prop from the little fall from the sky. And you can see it's about a foot long, front to back. From prop center to prop center, it's about a foot. Not a large platform. That's why the wind blowing it around so badly. And there it is with a deck of playing cards next to it, so you can see size. That's a 12 volt pull up pull down regulator board sitting next to the transmitter, because the video transmitter only puts out 6 volts, and I needed 12 volts to power the camera itself. Have a good one.